What amazed me is the business side. You made the move, the courage to go to New York. I mean, you know, you were young, you made that move. I mean,
well, when I was 19, well, let's back up. I mean, but you know, when I was 12 or 13, I decided that that was what I was going to do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that's an important thing. And I think that, you know, people have to realize that this isn't something that, you know, you choose, let's see, what job can I do that I can have security and a good future, and I kind of like it, I won't mind doing it, but boy, I can't wait for the weekend so I can not work my job.
Right.
This is not that.
Right.
This is the kind of thing that if you don't do it, something's wrong. And on the weekends, you'd rather be there than screwing off doing something else.
Right.
If you don't have that, don't waste your time trying to be a musician, is my attitude, you know.
Right.
The other side of it is that if you have that, don't fight it. You have to dive in and go for it, man, because you'll be miserable the rest of your life if you have that and it's pulling at you too. That's what I mean. It's like, I don't know why I chose drums. I always say they chose me. I don't know.
But so this is a large degree, it's kind of like a calling. This calling that just allowed you to have the courage to make the move to New York, to come into New York and start to play. And you hit the scene strong and hard, man. You came in and just...
Yeah, you might think so. Yeah. But, you know, the point is that by the time I was, certainly by the time I was a teenager, 14, 15, 16, everything I was doing was based around on how much time I could practice, how much music I could play.
Right.
I got out of high school, you know, a half year early. I was working 6 nights a week by the time I was 17. And by the time I was 18, and I knew that I wasn't going to stay in St. Louis. I didn't want to stay and work in wedding bands, you know. The top wedding guy in St. Louis was like, man, I'll pay you, you know, $15,000 a year and you'll have all the gigs. And I'm like, thanks, man. I'm going to New York, you know. Because all the guys, all the people, the great musicians, most of them at that time in 79, you know, late 70s, 80s, were in New York.
Right.
The people that I was listening to that I wanted to play with, you know, the Brecker Brothers and Will Lee.
That's where the energy
you
was,
know, all the great musicians. It's like, where does everybody live? You look on the records, New York City. It's like, okay, I'm going near New York City. I may not go in it, but I'm going near it so I can be close to it. And that was a plan. That was something that was like, this is where I'm going. I want to go here and try to move and get into this. Now, Neil Slater, who was, because I wanted to do it through a school, because I did want to study. I wanted to study music and composing, composition and theory and all that stuff. So somebody said, hey, you know, Bridgeport University in Connecticut is the school where this guy Neil Slater teaches. And oh yeah, I knew Neil from the Stan Kenton clinics that I went to in 75, 76, 77. And it was because one of the also other instructors at the camp came to teach at my high school. I was already gone, but he contacted me and he said, hey, you gotta check out Bridgeport University and Neil. So anyway, I sent a demo tape and Neil was like, well, if you can read as good as you play, you're in the band, you know. So, you know, luckily I had my reading chops together. And then, so yes, the school band was a huge thing. From the school thing, we formed a band. That was a huge thing, which was Night Sprite. Night Sprite became very popular in Westchester County, in New York. We started to play in Manhattan. We got gigs at the Brecker Brothers 7th Avenue South Club. And we got gigs at McKell's on 96th Street.
Yeah.
It's funny now. It's like, it's, you know, kids complain about, gee, how do I get recognized? How do I get, you know, how do I, and it's like, with the internet, it's like a free calling card, you know? And like, man, I was writing handwritten letters and boxing up cassettes and trying to get them to Erskine and other people to hear me, you know, because I was a big Erskine nut too, and you know.
And Erskine did finally hear it.
Yeah, he, all that perseverance kind of worked out, and he and Steve Kahn came to one of those gigs, and that was the reason, you know, he thought enough of what I was doing to recommend me for something he couldn't do.
Absolutely.
And that was the shoe-in. So it was a plan. It was a master plan to really, you know, do whatever it took to get as good as I could, because you said I hit the scene, you know, but I got to tell you, when I moved to Connecticut in '79, and you know, the gigs that I was doing, I mean, it was still, you know, tough, man. It was really tough. A lot of schlepping, a lot of, you know, not making much money, living, you know, I remember eating Chips Ahoy cookies for dinner, you know, and you know, it's like, But I was like 125 pounds, and I'm like, man, I was really skinny, and just all I was doing was practicing.
Yeah.
And I had such a routine because Slater gave me the keys to the building during the summer, and I didn't go home. I stayed on campus and worked, and I was practicing 15 hours a day, not all at once, but it became a method of operation.
So it was a way of life but you talked about perseverance, and these are the things that the next generation, when they hear these kinds of interviews and these kinds of conversations, they really need to hear. You're talking about perseverance, you're talking about sacrifice, you're talking about having a plan, you're talking about the courage to believe in what you did. You really made it happen. You really went out there and took the bull by the horns, as they say, and took charge of your life, which really is incredible.
I didn't let anybody tell me that the dream couldn't happen.
Right.
I didn't have the desire to be on magazine covers, be famous.
Yeah.
I mean, I think anybody that is a serious musician, that's why we do it. We've been inspired by all the great music of the past and present too. And we want to, we're affected emotionally that way in a positive sense.
Right.
And it is a wonderful distraction from all the negative that we then try to, put in some positive stuff for people to experience.
Absolutely. How do you maintain the business side of organizing all your traveling, and how do you, and then family, and you've got your daughter. How do you balance all of that?
I had a manager at one time when I was doing records and stuff, and I bailed on it because it didn't seem like I really needed a manager, and ever since then, and that was 25 years ago, but now I kind of feel like I need help because doing it all by myself, really trying to keep it organized. I don't mind doing it, but the point is that I'm not out of my office usually until, unless I just stop and run to the studio.
Yeah.
I'm not out of my studio till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I mean, my office, because I'm literally
there's so much stuff to be.
There's so much stuff. There's tours. There's equipment. There's it's all these things to coordinate. Steve Workin is really great. He's my partner in a lot of things that we've done together with like the Convergence Project, for example.
Right.
My new online school that I'm working on. We're partners in that. So he's my marketing manager. Does all my website and social media stuff. So he takes on a little bit of that role. And we do have booking agents for the bands and stuff like that. But it's just the personal management stuff of things that I'm a little bit too anal and controlling about that I can't give to somebody, because that's the point. I'll have to get in there anyway.
Absolutely, and you want it done right. And I get that. I'm a Virgo. I get that big time, as far as trying to keep things in line the way I would do it. But having to develop that kind of assistance to make it happen. It's amazing how it's grown globally to what you're doing. You've developed this global business.
So one of the things I always try to talk to students about is diversify. Don't go into this business thinking that it's the drumming business, because if I had to survive just playing drums, it would be hard work. I mean, I'd have to be on the road more than I am now, which is 6 to 7 months out of the year. I mean, I would enjoy it, but it's not the only thing that that helps me survive.
Right.
We have instructional products, we have equipment products, we have teaching products. We teach, I mix, I engineer, do things like that. So
producing, you're doing the online,
a little bit of that.
teaching now. So I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot that you're doing.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of of having different outlets within the business. But it's the music business. It's not the drumming business. And I think a lot of people get tunnel vision with I'm just going to play drums, and then worse, they say, I'm just going to be this kind of drummer.
Right.
I want to play with a band, and I'm going to play this style.
Right.
Good luck with that.
Because
that ain't gonna work, because if that style goes away, like it did for a lot of the rock bands in the 80s,
Absolutely.
I mean, we have friends that are selling cars,
Exactly right.
because that music went away.
So multiple income streams you have done well with, because your educational books, the material that you have, the play along stuff, this is all stuff that my students live by this stuff. I mean, your presence in my teaching facility is literally every day I'm teaching.
Oh, that's nice.
Your name comes up, and there's projects that we're working on and products that you have, and it is so great because it allows the student to find excitement, and it opens up their passion. So your music does that to that. Now,
well, like I said, at a very early age, I started when I got the Roy Burns Big Bad and Beautiful. It wasn't necessarily a play along, but it was Roy's playing great, sounding wonderful with the Dick Grove Big Band, and it had charts, big band charts.
I had
and
that.
It was awesome, you know. And I was like, wow, this would be really awesome if the drums weren't there to also to be able to play with. So, from that project, when I was 14, I said, man, if I ever get the chance, I'm going to make, you know, a killer play along that, you know, and that's why Contemporary Drummer Plus One was born, because there really wasn't a hip contemporary play along on the market, you know, and I wanted to do that, and I wanted to have that transcription stuff and all that.
And that is still alive and well and strong. The music has lasted through time.
Yeah, thankfully. I mean, it's a little dated now, but you know, but my idea with that project was to kind of do a studio prep and give them, you know, diverse material to practice. It was like a sports car jingle on there, for Christ's sake. You know, it's like, you know, but just, you know, rock stuff. But I wanted to do it in a way that was, you know, that you could listen to this and it would almost be a professional record. I was using it also, and this is how I was thinking, that I was using it as a demo or a calling card for a record deal. Because actually GRP at the time, they wanted to give me a record deal, and I was like, no, nobody knows who I am yet. Let me get the drumming market happening with a really cool sounding thing that's also serving the purpose that I've been dreaming about for a while with the play along aspect, and try to hit all of these things at once. So that was my master plan, which was the name of the first CD, once I did accept the record deal, because it all was. It was all a master plan of thinking about how I wanted to try to design the ability to, first of all, give something to the drummers that they could use that was not there. That's why I was saying, I was like, man, where is this stuff? There's like all these great drummers on the markets, and there's no material out there of that kind. It's like I said, if anybody ever cares enough to buy it, I'm going to make it, you know. And so I did that, and I did a couple of other play-alongs, and honestly, I would have done a ton more, but I'm playing too much. I'm not a teacher, and my projects are always, you know, going more, thankfully, going more towards the creative side, making records, touring, playing live, playing with people, you know. And when I can, I do the instructional thing. So then, you know, I did the Ultimate Play Along for you know, Volume 1 and 2. That was named Volume 1 and 2 for a reason. It was supposed to keep going, you know, and I just never had the time to keep it going. But I sort of did an offshoot of that. You know, recently I have on my website now just the Singles Project, which is not a dating service. It's Singles Project that I have songs
singles that
I
they can
do with
download
my friends
and play along to.
Yeah, and and it's a full package that you know, it's kind of the same deal. It's not quite in depth where the transcriptions are concerned, but it has charts for all the instruments that are on the given song. And I do it all in my studio, and it's a way to give more of that kind of material with the guys that I'm playing with, like Osnoy or Mike Stern or you know, George Whitty. We have one, or Gary Meek. We have one up there. So there's like 4 play-alongs on this on the website, and it's an important thing, because that, without being able to play to that kind of, you know, material, you know, playing to click tracks is no fun. First of all, I mean, it's great practice. We have to do it, you know, to learn how to play, internalize time, play with time, and do that. But boy, it's so much fun to be able to play with something that's designed to be very well produced in time. And that's what I do with my play-alongs. I try to get them to be produced so that people aren't playing with time that's like this, because that's not really going to do anything as far as an instructional aspect.
It's very clear.
So anyway, that's my concept of that type of thing.
So the master plan has worked and continues to work when you think about the process.
Try to keep it going. Trying to keep it going.
Really amazing. What would you say in closing, Dave? If think about young generations listening to what we're talking about. They're hearing your voice and they're hearing your message. What would you say to them on what could give them the fuel to continue, or the courage, or the sacrifice and the perseverance that you did?
Well, first of all, you know, realize your passion. If you have this passion and this burning desire to do it, then, you know, first of all, if you're young enough and you have to talk your parents into this, you got to prove to them that you are serious. You know, you have to either decide to do it if you want to be a professional, or just do it for fun and a hobby, and then not sweat it at all.
Right.
You know, but that's the first thing, is determine kind of what you're doing. It's like, make it possible for yourself to do it. So that means don't Don't take on too much responsibility in life too soon, you know, and don't put yourself in situations where it forces you to make a lot of money that take away from the time that you need to sit there and practice.
Right.
So then we get into the development. Go listen to the history.
Yeah.
Understand where it all came from. You have to understand that it started basically with jazz.
Yeah.
Everybody was playing, everybody came out of the jazz thing
Early
before
1900s,
rock and roll
absolutely.
was even born.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got to go listen to the history for the depth of the understanding of, first of all, the triplet. Triplet is not being taught that much these days. And there's countries that we go to that they don't know what it is.
I have no idea.
You know?
Absolutely.
So you have to understand the swing. You have to understand the triplet. And then, of course, you get into the rock and roll. You get into there's the history of all the great rock players too.
Right, right.
But go back. It's so much fun. Then find good teachers. Find the players, the people that you like, what they do. You know, well, who do they study with? Do they teach? You know, that type of thing. Do they have online drum schools? You know, that type of thing.
Ask the questions to find that information.
Yeah, yeah, and then you know, do whatever you have to do to practice. My real estate ventures, which have been very little, have always been decided by where the drums were going, not how nice the kitchen was or anything else. It's like, where am I putting the drums? Because if I can't play right outside my door, right in my building, I'm not going to do it so much.
That's
Because you have to get up and go somewhere,
Right,
and then it
right,
becomes
right.
a job.
Right.
It's like, man, do you have to, you know? And of course, some of us we're in situations where it's an apartment or whatever it is, you know. Whatever, man. Set up the drum set and put pads. And I lived in an apartment for 2 years when I was in my early 20s, right before I got the Simon and Garfunkel gig in 1983.
And you made it work. You made it
and
work.
I had this was before I had an endorsement. I had my Gretsch kit filled with pillows and stuff. I was in an apartment, but hey, man, I was going to practice. I have to practice. So you got to do what you got to do. But,
When there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Which you obviously have shown that. Boy, it's
and then
amazing.
just go for it. Go for it.
100%.
Just go for it. Go for it. You know, because for me, it's like every time I play, it's like, this could be it. This could be the last time. Who knows? Walk out, get hit by a car. Who knows?
So interesting. So that life perspective really is a part of what drives you to make the most out of each moment.
Yeah.
But that is absolutely taking ownership of every moment of your life, which you have always done.
What else are we here for?
Yeah.
You know, the older we get, the more
Yeah.
profound it becomes that, hey man, this ain't forever. I'm still in the practice room. I'm like watching Buddy videos going, you know, trying to learn again more about how does he do this? You know, it's like, come on, man, I'm 57 now. I should be able to do this, and I can't, you know. So I'm still trying to learn. You know,
You can for sure. I've witnessed it many times.
No, man. There's Buddy and there's everybody else. That's my opinion.
Yeah, he's had a pretty high bar that he set. You've set the bar too very, very high, David. You have continued, you have inspired, you continue to inspire. This session and conversation was extremely inspiring. I thank you so much on behalf of the sessions. You have been fantastic.
Thanks, Don, for having me, man.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, and thank you for all you do for the drum world.
Thank you, Dave.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.